County. Welcome back to another episode of Attack Wrap, our third final episode of the year. Co-host Zach Scribner and Adrien Mousseau will be joined by General Manager Dale DeGray. We're just going through some technical difficulties. We have OHL stats to go over, and most recently, the Montreal Canadiens win the NHL Draft Lottery as they get the number one pick and the opportunity to select Shane Wright, the exceptional from the Kingston Frontenacs. Dale's on the video. Adrien, how are you?
Doing well. How are you doing, Zach?
I'm doing good, but not as happy as you are because you're a big Habs fan. You have the opportunity to select Shane. You don't, but your team has the opportunity to select Shane Wright as number one.
I wish I was in Kent Hughes' shoes right now. He's got to be thrilled to have the opportunity to select him or Yurov Slafkovsky or Logan Cooley. One of the three, any three of those, in my opinion, is a good selection for me. Shane Wright all day, though.
And Dale's connected with the video. Mr. DeGray, how are you? It's the iPhone version of Attack Wrap tonight. Probably a little bit less busy than a week ago, huh?
Yeah, and I apologize, guys. Don't ask me what's going on with my computer. Why I got no video on my computer, but I hope this works fine. But yeah, I'm a little less busy than I was the past week for sure.
We have lots to go over around the OHL, and then we'll get into the interview with you. We'll start with the OHL Player of the Week, Kitchener Rangers forward Joseph Serpas, the OHL Player of the Week, leading the league with 9 points, including 4 goals and 5 assists over 4 games with a plus-minus rating of +5. Serpa helped eliminate the London Knights in 7 games, and he got off to a hot start in their second-round series against the Windsor Spitfires. Serpa came up with a 3-point performance in Game 7 at Budweiser Gardens. He scored the tying goal in the third period while adding 2 assists as the Rangers beat the Knights 4-3 in overtime. He scored twice and added 2 assists in Kitchener's 6-5 Game 1 loss to the Windsor Spitfires this past Saturday, and came back with a goal and an assist as the Rangers beat Windsor 4-2 on Sunday. For the second straight week, Luke Kavalin of the Flint Firebirds is the OHL goaltender of the week after posting a 3-1 record with a 2.75 goals against average and a .939 save percentage. Kavalin stopped 168 shots over the past 4 games, helping the Firebirds win their first ever OHL playoff series before posting at least 50 saves in back-to-back second-round wins over the Sioux Greyhounds. And the final Huron Tracker Attack Player of the Week for this season goes to rookie forward Colby Barlow. Colby ended the playoffs scoring in 3 straight contests. Game 5, the lone marker shorthanded for the Attack. Game 6, he caught Flint lacking in front of their bench. When they almost had too many men on the ice, Barlow chipped the puck past some Flint players and scored on the breakaway. And in Game 7, the rookie rose to the occasion, scoring 2 goals for the Owen Sound Attack in their Game 7 loss to the Flint Firebirds. We'll take a look at some OHL awards before going into the leading scorer in the playoff bracket. The Ontario Hockey League has announced some regular season awards winners. San Jose Sharks prospect Brandon Coe wins Overager of the Year. He finished the season with 101 points, leading the team in scoring. Coe emerged as a top candidate in the Eastern Conference, receiving more votes than Western Conference representative Ty Cartier of the Sioux Greyhounds in the final round of voting to be crowned the winner. And James Richmond of the Mississauga Steelheads was announced as the OHL's Coach of the Year, completing his 5th season as head coach in Mississauga. Richmond steered the Steelheads to club records with 37 wins and 82 points, placing second in the Central Division standings. They surrendered the league's second lowest total of 189 goals, produced the OHL's 3rd-ranked penalty kill. They finished first in both shots per game and fewest against per game, and they outshot their opponents in 53 of their 68 contests. The Steelheads finished the season tied for the league lead with 6 players included on the NHL Central Scouting's final draft rankings. That includes top 10 considerations Luca Del Bel Belouz and Owen Beck. We're now into the conference semifinals in the OHL playoffs with all 4 games being played tonight. Let's get you caught up in the bracket starting in the Western Conference. The series between the Windsor Spitfires and Kitchener Rangers shifts to the odd tonight for games 3 and 4. The Rangers were victorious Sunday evening, leaving the series tied 1-1. The Flint Firebirds defended home ice. Now let's see if the Sioux Greyhounds can do the same. The Firebirds won both games 5-3 as they look to take a 3-0 series lead tonight in the Sioux. To the Eastern Conference, starting with Hamilton and Mississauga. Hamilton hasn't lost a playoff game yet. They look to go up 3-0 tonight in Mississauga. And finally, the Kingston Frontenacs handed the North Bay Battalion their first loss in Game 2. The Frontenac Battalion are tied 1-1. Now let's take a look at the OHL's top performers in the playoffs. 4 players are tied for the top spot in playoff scoring. Logan Morrison of the Hamilton Bulldogs, former attack forward Mitch Russell, Joseph Serpas of the Kitchener Rangers, and Zaid Wisdom each had 14 points in their playoff run. Brandon Coe, Jack Thompson, and Wyatt Johnston each have 13 points, while Mason McTavish, Brendan Othman, and Francesco Arcuri ran out the top 10 with 12 points each. Now we'll take a look at how the top 10 shaped out for the Attack's playoff scoring leaders. Colby Barlow and Servac Petrovsky each had 6 points, leaving them tied for the top spot. Julian Fantino finishes third with 5 points, 4 of them being goals. Fantino broke his regular season goal total in the playoffs. Fantino had scored 3 goals in the regular season. Cedric Gwyndon and William Portacalis finished tied for 4th with 5 points. A 6-way tie of players with 3 points rounds out the top 10, including Ethan Burroughs, Mark Woolley, and Teus Jordan.
Now, Dale, to you, another season of Attack hockey has come and gone. On air after Game 7, I described the season in my eyes as a roller coaster, but a fun one. Now that you've had a week to reflect yourself, how would you describe this season?
Yeah, I mean, first off, can you guys hear me okay on my?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. No, I'm incredibly pleased with how everything's gone this year. We knew at the start of the year we were going to have some young kids. We knew at the start of the year there was going to be some learning curves that are going to be, some are going to be extended. Some kids are going to pick it up pretty quick. But we were all in line with going forward with this. And I think at the start of the year, I think I said that we would be somewhere between 4th and 8th. And, for a while there, I thought we were going to push to be 4th. And then for a while there, I thought we were playing our way out of 8. So you talk about the ups and downs, no question. Then we went through that stretch. We were 0-8, and then we went points in like 15 or 16 games. So there's sort of the tail of the tape as far as I'm concerned, how the year went. But boy, I think we finished on a real good note.
Absolutely. And speaking of how you guys finished, let's take a closer look at the series. Going into the matchup against Flint here on Rogers TV, we thought that if you guys limited Brendan Othman to scoring opportunities, you guys have a good chance of winning. And you guys brought it all the way to Game 7, and Brendan Othman only scored on home ice. He seemed frustrated at times. How do you guys think that your young team performed in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think as we finished the season, I know our kids were nervously excited about getting the playoffs going. I remember going into Game 1, but man, did they ever grab a hold of the playoff format and the experience of the intensity. They really did grab it and move forward. I mean, the amount of block shots we had, they were laying it all out on the ice. And that's why, although we lost in Game 7, as a general manager, I know my coaches are upset. They're disappointed that we lost, but I'm looking at the future. I'm looking at how do we move forward. And it's funny. I was talking to Greg Walters this afternoon, and I said, if we could show the boys some video of how the playoffs went and the sort of the dire eagerness that they had to block shots and back check and strip pucks. If we can start that way next September, it's going to be an incredible year.
Dale, you mentioned blocking shots, and we could talk about every single player's performance in the playoffs, but 2 guys really stood out to me, and Ethan Burroughs and Denny Gore. Guys, Gore only put up an assist, but Burroughs put up 2 goals as well. Maybe not the production you'd want, but they were really fascinating in different ways. Burroughs was incredible on home ice, especially notably in Game 3, I believe, blocking shots. And Denny Gore, I thought, really brought the intensity up front and carried the puck in the offensive end for a lot of time. Just didn't get that production. It was their first playoff run. What were some of your thoughts on 2 of your more veteran forwards there in round 1?
You know what? I think you nailed it. I mean, they were a topic of conversation for us. many different games in the playoffs. And it was exactly like you said. You know, we expected more offensive output from both those players, but you couldn't knock them. You couldn't hold them back. You couldn't move them down a line because of how hard they were playing and what they were doing in other facets of the game. And those are one of the things that we always talk about. You know, if you're an offensive player and you're not scoring, you've got to find another way to contribute and bring something to the table each and every game. And I think both those kids did exactly what you said. They both worked their butts off. They were blocking shots. They were causing havoc. They were doing everything they could, except maybe rallying for points. And like I said, you know, sometimes you got to find a way to do something positive. And I think both kids did that throughout the 7-game series.
Now let's go over the 3 graduating overagers. Maybe get your opinion on the legacy that they'll leave here in Owen Sound. We'll break them down one by one. And let's start out with Igor Chibrikov, a 2nd-round pick in 2017. I believe he was 6'5" at the time of being drafted. Usually teams will describe those taller players maybe as a project type of player with how tall they are, just getting them adjusted to the OHL pace. I think it's safe to say, Dale, Igor finished the season arguably the best defenseman here in Owen Sound.
Yeah, no question. You know, Igor is one of those kids that I think he got better every year he went along. Maybe not as fast as maybe he had thought, and maybe we had thought as well. You know, one of the things that with Igor, I really thought that Igor would leave after year 4 or year 5 at 6'5" or 6'6", about 230 pounds. I think I'm probably about 30 pounds short, and I don't know what's happened there. But you know what? At some point, this kid's going to gain some weight, and he's going to be an absolute miserable bear to play against because, you know, as tall as he is, he's got good feet. He's got a great reach. He thinks the game, especially defensively, very well. He's one of the few kids, I think, on the blue line that I really appreciate his shot because it's never over the crossbar. It's always almost, you know, kneecaps down, which I can really respect from a defenseman shooting pucks. So, no, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Chibber moving forward here. I know he'd like to play at some level professionally. You know, we'll have to see if that opportunity arises for him.
Next up, Nick Porco, acquired from the Barrie Colts at the trade deadline to fill that 3rd overage spot. His speed was evident on the ice every night, as was his work ethic. From his play style, despite only being here for a few months, what impact does that leave on Nick Porco, the impact of Nick Porco on the group coming back next year, especially some of your young guns?
Yeah, I think the guys can really appreciate. I know when Nick first came and he was in practice and he was buzzing around, and I know he was excited to get into Owen Sound and get on a line with some skilled guys and make plays happen. I think they could really, really appreciate it, just how fast and how quick he generated his speed from stop to get going, right from the get-go. And he was a great asset for us to bring in. He had a perfect mentality for our group. He fit what we wanted in an overage because, you know, honestly, sometimes bringing overages in at the end of the year can be tricky because some of them have attitudes and some of them, maybe they don't want to be moved and then they are. But I think he realized he was coming into a situation where he was going to, you know, be put in situations where he could excel and play the way he wanted to and felt he could best contribute.
And last, the captain, Mark Woolley, acquired from the Guelph Storm in his rookie season. He was that big fish, if you will, in the Nick Suzuki deal. In your time in Owen Sound, has a player ever had as big of an impact on the organization than Mark Woolley?
No, he's a special young man. And I think everybody in the community knows, you know, the endeavor off the ice that he has put forth and raising thousands of dollars. So, you know, on the ice, he's a guy that, you know, we had to talk him to coming into Owen Sound. He wasn't sure about the move originally, but I know 2 weeks after he was here, he came in to talk to me, thanked me for bringing him from Guelph and giving him the opportunity. And I think if you were to talk to Mark and ask him about his experience in Owen Sound, he wouldn't have wanted it any other way.
Absolutely, he's a wonderful kid. In week 2 of Attack Wrap, we had you on, and we asked you a few questions, and a few of them stood out to me in regards to they were a developing story throughout the year. The first one that I wanted to get you the first one that was asked was, at the time you guys had only 10 straight 30-win seasons, and you mentioned how important it was for you to continue that streak. Are you happy and are you proud that that number reached 11?
Yeah, you know what? When you think of the amount of teams and which teams have done what we've done, that we can be mentioned in the same breath as some of the other. I think there's only a couple of teams in Canada that can stake that claim. But yeah, I think when I talk to young kids, the minor midgets, and I can let them hear that. I think every time I say it to a parent, I think I'm more and more proud of that. And I don't know if the kids realize at the start of the year, I think they think, okay, we play 68 games. We should win 30 games falling off the back of a truck. But then you get down to the last few weeks and you're at 29 games and you've just lost 3 games in a row. And you're sitting there going, holy smokes, we have one more game. And you know, I'll tell you a quick story is Greg Walters was out in the community somewhere. He was out having dinner or something. And we were at 28 games. And that's exactly what happened. A couple of gentlemen, I think he was having breakfast somewhere, and a couple of gentlemen said to him, hey, coach, 2 more to go. And he says, what are you talking about 2 more to go? We had maybe 14 games left or something, right? And he says, 2 more games to get 30. You got to get 30. He never even heard about this before because I've never put that pressure on them. Well, at that point, he started realizing, okay, I don't want to be the guy who doesn't get 30. So he wanted to make sure there was no way he was going to be the coach that didn't get the 30 wins.
That just shows you how invested this community is also into the team, that with 14 games in the rest that are left in the season, they're going up to the coach at a diner.
That's the beauty of being a part of the Owen Sound Attack and the community. It really is. It's until you're a part of it, it's hard to describe.
The second question that was asked, and it was Zach that asked it, and Zach was very, very enthusiastic, I would say, about this question was, would Colby Barlow...
You guys scare me when you're bringing up questions from last September. I got to tell you that right now.
Would Colby Barlow break the rookie goal record set at 22? And you not that you hesitated, but you kind of beat it around the question, saying that he had great potential in doing so. You kind of took the political answer on that one. Well, Colby scored 30 goals, 47 points, tying Joey Hishin's 16-year-old points record. Not only did he beat the goal record, but he tied the points record. When I said you were political in that answer, did you see the potential in him breaking that record?
Well, it's easy for me to say now, right? But listen, it's tough because you think about some of the 16-year-olds that have played here and done well, and you know, part of probably skirting around the issue is probably because if Colby Barlow is watching the show and I'm sitting there as a general manager saying, yes, he needs to score 30 goals, that's way too much baggage to put on a 16-year-old. So part of me was probably trying to be a little bit protective of a 16-year-old that's never played a game in the league. But I know when we drafted him, I know for a fact I did say that he's the best pure goal scorer I've ever drafted. And I think he certainly made that comment correct.
Well, you had a full season to evaluate head coach Greg Walters. When talking with the players throughout the year, they seemed to be very happy with the style of coaching. It took a bit for them to get used to it, but once the dominoes were in place, the Attack seemed to be one of the hottest teams in the OHL down the stretch. How would you evaluate your new head coach after year one?
Yeah, you know what? He was fantastic. And I know you guys know, I didn't know him from Adam coming into the year before I interviewed him, before we got together about the possibilities. I know what a lot of people told me and had said what had probably happened, and it all came true. The group of kids really, really just with open arms, really near the end of the season. It's like you said, probably when we came back from the second break we had for COVID, I think once we started getting everybody on the ice on a day-to-day basis, I think they realized just where we were at and to trust the coach. And I'll be honest with you, I think there was a situation that happened in Kitchener, and I think that was a telltale for me that these kids were all on board with what the coaches were selling them. And I'll go one further regarding, Wally, is that it was just a great staff. I mean, I just think the staff we have is just fantastic. And the kids have total buy-in and listen to everything that they talk about between periods, after the games, before the games. It does seem, and I said it last September, I thought we had a special group. I said it again going into the playoffs, and I said it again at the end of the playoffs. I think it's a special group.
Now, you're talking about the special group that you have. When assessing the team like you have, is there one player in particular that you might have been pleasantly surprised with his growth this season as the season went along? I have a guy in mind myself, but I was wondering who your guy was.
Well, I think two come to mind. One would be Cedric Gwyndon. Okay, I think he started. I think we all knew what he could be. I think things didn't go the way he may have wanted them to, but the second half of the season he was lights out. And for me, a guy that took some steps and then was injured and then had to regroup and come back. Madden Steen for me was one of those guys. The biggest surprise, wholeheartedly surprised, still as I'm sitting here, will be a great story to tell. And I've told it to the new drafts this year that, we had a 12th round pick that I sent home, and I told him, don't sign with a tier 2 team. Wait till I contact you. And I contacted Teos Jordan and said, Teos, we want to see you back in Owen Sound. And we signed him. And, that little bugger never looked back. Just kept taking steps after steps after steps. He became an incredibly reliable defenseman. He's probably the guy that made the most inroads because maybe we weren't sure where we should even peg him at the start. I don't know if one of those guys is one of your guys, but those would be my three guys.
I just have a little story about Teos before I said that wasn't who I had in mind, but Teos in one of the playoff games was getting cross-checked into the dasher board right in front of me. And then he just shakes his head and had a huge smile on his face. And I'm like, this guy is he's driven a different way. And you can see the drive that he has. That's the way that's the perfect description for me. It was Ethan Burroughs, the way that he developed from his 16-year-old year to this season. I know with that COVID shutdown, and he went from an offensive player to a defensive shutdown player all in a matter of weeks. I think his versatility was unbelievable this season. So that was my guy that surprised me a little bit the most.
Maybe the quiet 30 goals we've scored.
Yeah,
like I'll be honest with you, is when you said Ethan, as soon as you said Ethan Burroughs, the first thing I thought of, because I've openly said that, the quietest 30-goal scorer I think I've ever seen in Owen Sound.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%.
I was going to say mine would have to be Teos, but now that I'm thinking about it, Dale, with the physicality that Madden Steen, Cedric Sanoki-Tundu, and Teos brings, that's a defensive core that's just going to succeed and bloom in the playoffs next season.
Listen, 16 to 17 years old, these guys it's phenomenal.
So let's go to back to early November. You made two trades. The most significant for the organization may have been trading away Matt Guzda. With that trade, you promote Nick Chenard from backup to starter. You obviously thought he could bear the load. Were you satisfied with Nick's play post-trade, post-Matt Guzda trade? He seemed to settle down the stretch and was key for you guys in the playoffs.
Yeah, I had no hesitation doing it. At the start of the year, he broke his finger, got stepped on at training camp, like 3 shifts into training camp. Like that was crazy. And so in the back of my mind, it was something that I thought would happen or could happen. I didn't know when it would happen. I didn't know when the opportunity would present itself. I knew there was no way I was going to go with 3 goalies. We wanted Corbin to come in and be the guy to learn and get through the season. Some way, somehow, try to get him in somewhere between 15 and 20 games and see how that plays out. But as far as moving forward with Nick, I knew that, the last time Nick played, I thought he was very good, like when he played the 14 games earlier on. Moving forward, I thought he looked great at camp, although be it in the exhibition or the scrimmages, getting hurt early, sort of put everything on the back burner. And listen, moving Matt Guzda, let's not kid ourselves. That's not an easy thing to do, right? I knew that Mac was going to be a standout goalie this year. I knew he was driven to be his best because I knew he wanted to sign. He wanted to get a contract. I couldn't see how he was going to get that opportunity to play big minutes. If you know Mac Guzda, you play 68 games, he'll sit right in front of you and say, how come I can't play 68? That was not going to work for us moving forward. So I knew I had to move him sooner than later, just to get that out of the way and move on. I just wish there was a bigger market for goalies, because I think on another year, I could have recouped a great deal more assets. But we were happy to get him to a place where I knew he was going to be able to play and be the number 1 guy. And he ended up ultimately getting what he wanted, and that was an NHL contract. So we're all happy for him.
Yeah, I think both parties were happy with that, with his performance in Barrie as well. Now we just have a couple minutes before we go to the break. The young D-Corps took massive strides, as we mentioned earlier, with 2 big, literally and figuratively, defensemen leaving. Do you see anyone ready to fill the shutdown minutes that Igor and Mark will leave behind?
Yeah, I think we mentioned some names. I think Maddenstein, for me, for sure, fits, the Mark Woolley role without even thinking about it. You bring up Okatundu, you bring up Teos Jordan, and those guys, I think they have a better understanding now. It's going to be interesting to see next September, those 3 kids, after they've had 1 full year under their belt, where they're at. Do they come in bigger, stronger, uglier, better skater? Do you know what I mean? Is that going to be their nature? The message they got from all of us moving on into the summertime is just that. So we'll see how they progress over the summer. This should be a big summer for a lot of kids, because I look at our rookies, and boy, did our rookies play a lot of minutes. And you can't get that experience unless you're on the ice eating up good minutes. And they weren't just getting 1 and 2 shifts a game. They were playing minutes. So it's going to be an interesting September.
You mentioned September. 2 OHL drafts took place within the past week and a half. We'll get Dale's thoughts on the new players coming to One Sound on the other side of the break here on Attack Wrap on Rogers TV.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Calling all journalism students, Omni Television is once again awarding scholarships to qualified students pursuing a career in 3rd language journalism.
When I found out that I won an Omni scholarship, I honestly wasn't expecting it. Winning an Omni scholarship helped me realize that I chose the right career path by pursuing 3rd language journalism.
Omni is home to a variety of locally produced current affairs programs and daily national newscasts, broadcast in 6 languages. To learn more about Omni scholarships, visit omnitv.ca/scholarships.
Hi, I'm Carol Merton, host of HealthLink. HealthLink is a program connecting home, community, and healthcare. Please join us on Rogers TV for a program to learn more about resources and services available to you and to your family. Take care.
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train. She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
Welcome back to Attack Wrap. Zach Scribner and Adrien Mousseau, joined by the GM of the Owen Sound Attack, Dale DeGray. We'll get you guys updated on some OHL scores. The Owen Sound Attack, of course, eliminated from the playoffs. 4 games going on tonight. Rory Cairns has scored his first goal of the playoffs. The Sioux Greyhounds up 3-0 on the Flint Firebirds. Kitchener and Windsor, the Kitchener Rangers, lead the Windsor Spitfires 1-0. He's been the feel-good story all playoffs ever since that incident in London. Mike Batizian opens the scoring for the Kitchener Rangers. The Mississauga Steelheads and Hamilton Bulldogs are tied at 0. And the Kingston Frontenacs lead the North Bay Battalion 2-0. Martin Chromiak opens the scoring. Paul Ludwinski, the rookie, 7 goals in the playoffs, assisted by Francesco Arcuri and number 51, Shane Wright. Well, Dale, we mentioned it. The OHL playoffs, or the OHL draft, and then the U18 draft. You completed 2 drafts a little while ago. Let's get your thoughts on the players that you brought in, maybe get some player comparisons as well, and we'll let Adrien take off with the first round pick.
So you chose in the first round Ben Comier of the Navigrads. He had 72 points in 30 games. And when I watched highlights of him, all I saw was his jersey always flapping in the wind. He seems like a very fast skater. And he told me in an interview that I had with him during Game 6 that he was coming to Owen Sound to score goals. Now you just saw Colby Barlow do what he did. Should we expect the same 16-year-old season? I know you won't say that, but when a 15-year-old kid says that he's coming here to score goals, it kind of got me a little excited.
Well, he can score goals. Different than Colby, but he can score goals, and he's a very good skater. He really, he plays a real solid game. He's a little bit like Cedric Gwyndon, and it's exciting to think that, and Ben knows what he is. He knows what he is. He's confident in his abilities. He's a thicker kid. He's a bigger kid. He's probably 175 pounds, maybe 5'11". So he's got good size. He's got great instincts. I was really hoping that we were going to have a chance to get him. I watched him at the Combine in Oshawa the week before the draft, or 2 weeks before the draft. Easily the best player on the ice. Easily. I think the first game, I think he had 4 goals and maybe 2 the next day. We were excited to get back to watch him play.
Now, he also mentioned in that interview that he thought he was going to Owen Sound the entire time. That's the place that he wanted to go. And he mentioned that he has a relationship already formed with, you just mentioned him, Cedric Gwyndon. Do you foresee them maybe playing together on a line? Well, I know that's not your decision, but did you consult Cedric when drafting him?
Absolutely. I talked to Cedric and he said that great kid, great off ice, works hard. They work out together in the summertime. They actually have the same agent, which I didn't know until, really went down the path. But it's always nice when you can talk to one of the players. And I know Cedric was excited when we were able to select him. I know he a couple of times when I was up before the draft, he was always coming in my office, snooping around, seeing what I was up to, asking questions. So I think he's excited that we drafted Ben for sure.
Dale, out of curiosity,
I don't put the lines together. So
that was a bad question.
No say in that.
Now, with Ben coming out of the Ottawa area, he wouldn't have been at the OHL Cup. How many viewings did you get to take in of Ben over this past U16 season?
I'm going to say we saw him 5 times, and then the Combine.
The Combine.
Like myself.
Yeah. I was going to say, you guys obviously have the Ottawa area scout, but I was just curious how much you would have get to see him. Let's follow up with that. You had 2 picks in the second round. Brayden Rogers, I believe, has a little bit of ties to the Owen Sound organization. He's a right-handed defenseman, selected 30th overall out of the Quincy Red Devils program. Minutes will be tough to come by next year on the back end, but what will Brayden bring to the blue line here in Owen Sound?
Yeah, very, very smooth skater, great decisions, plays 200 foot. I think he's got a little bit more offensive upside. He played with his partner was more on the offensive side of the puck, so he had to sort of sit back a little bit and support him. But I think he's got a little bit more of an offensive flair to his game than maybe he's shown. I know that when we reached out to the people in Quinte and his trainers and some different people that we've known, obviously we've drafted some kids from Quinte, so we have some connections there. They thought that he was making inroads on the player that went. I think he went 13th or 14th overall to Oshawa.
Yeah, maybe a player comparison, a player he reminds you of, whether it be from the Attack or player in general.
Yeah. No, just I see. I don't try to go down that road, but he really is. He might eventually be Brady Lyle, a guy that we have, right? That can skate, get up ice, kind of do it all. I think he's going to fill out. Like Brady really came into his own once he started to fill out. Just a real good skater, can carry pucks, up ice, back, just kind of do it all.
Now, second pick in the second round, I was told by a scout the work ethic from Antonio Tersigni could make him a fan favorite here in Owen Sound. 5'9", left winger on a stacked junior Canadian squad. Two-part question. First off, how will Antonio fit in with the young offensive core here in Owen Sound?
Well, he is a dog on a bone, and it's not even just after pucks. If it's getting to the net, he's going hard to the net. He's going hard to win to track down pucks. Everything is hard. And here I will give you comparison. Not that I'm going to say that he's going to be a fighter like the guy I'm going to tell you, but the way that he plays is Andrew Shaw, and skilled with a dogged determination. We'll see. I didn't know Andrew Shaw was as tough as he was, but maybe it comes out of him. So who knows? But that's the sort of player, Antonio, he makes me think about when I watch him play. But very skilled, quick, tenacious, all over the ice.
Now, second part of the question, and maybe it doesn't have to be about Antonio specific, but just in general, when you're watching these stacked U16 squads, do you find it challenging evaluating the top talented teams and maybe envisioning how they could fit in an OHL organization down the line when realistically you're only going to get one out of those three kids on an OHL team?
Yeah, the hard part watching a stacked team, quite honestly, guys, is you have to watch about 12 guys, and it's hard. It's hard to focus on, let's say Antonio's shift in, shift out, because that's what you really want to do. And I think early on in the year, you go and you sort of cast a broad, sort of blanket over everybody, and you just sort of say, okay, good player, average player, bad player, excellent player. And then you can at least formulate a list of guys you want to sort of zone in on. At the end of the year, that's what we started to do, or I started to do anyways, was to zone in on some of those top guys that we really, really liked. So when you go and watch some of these stacked teams, I was only going to watch 3 or 4 kids. I didn't care about the rest of them. We had them all figured out where we wanted them, and then we'll just figure out the top kids from there.
You picked a goalie in the third round, Carter George out of the Thunder Bay Kings program, 5'11", between the pipes. Is there a recent OHL goaltender that reminds you of his style?
Yeah, a guy we had that was pretty good, Michael McNiven. And every time I watched him play, first time I saw him play, I saw a goalie that was similar in size to Michael McNiven, just under 6 feet tall, but battled, track pucks, battled, and can handle a puck. So no, he was, I've had guys tell me, they played out of and I don't know if you know this, but they played out of the GTHL, right?
Oh yeah.
So So playing out of the GTHL, they, 3 teams flew in every second weekend. So we got to see them a lot. And, playing against some of the best stacked teams like we were just talking about. And I've had people tell me easily the best goalie in the GTHL. So, he's not 6'5", but boy, he competes and wants to stop pucks. And reminded me, Michael McNiven was outstanding for us.
Do you guys feel like you got a steal at any point in the draft? Last season, you said that Colby Barlow was the steal of the draft at 8th overall. Is there a steal in your mind?
Well,
anywhere?
You know what? Listen, Ben Cormier might end up proving to be the steal, but I do think when I think about how many goalies went before Carter, okay, and I don't. You might know. I don't right now, but I know
there was only 4 or 5.
Yeah, there was. We had Carter rated number 1, and we traded for a 3rd round pick to take a goalie with that spot. So, listen, it played out exactly the way that we wanted it to, and so we're ecstatic to get him with our pick there. But I do think if he's not the best goalie, he's one of the top 2 or 3.
I swore that you guys traded for that 3rd round pick, but I couldn't find it anywhere online. I think he gave up a 2nd round pick.
We gave a 2nd and a 6th to Barry. Yeah.
Now, before Zach goes off on the U18 selections that you guys made, does your game plan change from year to year, or because junior hockey is kind of the same and a high turnover rate, does your game plan just need to be tweaked from year to year?
You have to explain to me, what do you mean by game plan?
Like going into the draft, you're thinking of best player available to be selected, but do you ever have, like, I don't know, it's been 3 or 4 years in a row that you go forward in the 1st round, and then you quickly take a defenseman and then a goalie later on in the 4, 5, 6 range? Is that like a game plan that you guys have, or do you guys have a list and it's just check it off?
No, when we first, I will say this. We try to group our guys together. So this year we wanted a forward, unless there was. I said that we'll only take 1 defenseman. If 1 defenseman's there at 10 and he went 4th, we would select that defenseman. I didn't think he would be there, but he would be the only one that I was going to jump up and take at number 10. Because I thought a number of the forwards were better picks than the other defensemen that may have. I'm not even sure where they all went, right? But that's how we do it. Like I said, I didn't think a goalie in this draft was worth a 2nd round pick. So I said we will not select a goalie until the 3rd round. We had 2 picks in the 2nd round, and we've already picked a forward. I'd like to get a defenseman. Get the defenseman you want, and then take another forward. Now, I will tell you that I spoke to different agents, and we had a couple of defensemen and a couple of forwards for both spots. And it was, every agent tries to put pressure on you to take their kids we had pick 30 and pick 35. All 4 of those guys wanted to go 30. And it's up to us to decide, okay, who's going to be there at 35, and which position do you want over the other one? That's how it works. Once you get past the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, then we have no idea who's going to be left at that point.
Yeah. Now, Dale, like Adrien mentioned, the U18 draft was conducted just shortly after the OHL priority selection. You guys had picks 11, 31, and 48. Maybe get you to briefly describe each player. Starting out, 1st round pick, Tristan Caldwell, 6'2", left-handed defenseman, weighing 195 pounds, out of the Nepean Raiders U18 AAA program. What would you have to say about Tristan and his style of play?
He's miserable. How's that? He's 6'2", 195. He's miserable. He moves pucks, and he enjoys making life difficult. His I don't know if I'm allowed to give out his email. His email handle is Big Rig. So that's how he plays. So it's going to be interesting to see him come into camp.
Second
He's
round.
a left shot defenseman, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Could be paired up with Madden Steen as a nice shutdown pair, lefty righty. Hey, you're not the coach, but if Joey and Skillsy are listening, I got some ideas here.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There you go.
Second rounder, you go goaltender, 6 feet, 174 pounds, out of the Elgin Middlesex Chiefs program in Owen Davey. Like we mentioned, going back to a goalie, what style of play would Owen bring here to Owen Sound maybe one day?
He's quick as a cat. He's he's one of those guys that he works, but he's quick and average size. It's one of those things where all of a sudden you draft a 6-foot goalie, and we always got to remember they're still teenagers. He could come to camp at 6'2".
Yeah.
That's a different kid, and he's got a year midget, and these are the U18 draft. I always say to the kids, this is a really, really big summer for them, and some of these kids will put in a ton of time, and some won't. And we've always tried to use the U18 draft to make us better. We're not gonna select a friend of a family member or something, because this is going to make us better. And in order for us to get better, we have to, even if these kids come in and all they do is make camp better, then we're going to see somebody else be better than them, and it's going to push kids. But this is a big summer for these kids, and they all know it. This is their last sort of kick at the can to make major junior team. And I think the 3 kids that we selected, I can tell you right now, they were all ecstatic when I made a phone call to them.
And the last selection, Jacob Strizzy out of the Toronto Junior Canadians U18 program. I don't know if you know the story about this. Friend of the show, Greg Cowan, said that Colby Barlow played with Jacob in the Brick tournament. Do you know anything about that?
Don't know it. No, didn't know that.
We'll have to ask Colby. But so you take 3 kids in the U18 draft. Should we expect any of these players in an Attack jersey next season? Maybe that diamond in the rough like a Caleb Pearson?
Well, here's this. That's why we draft these kids, right? And that's why I was just saying, like, this is a big summer for them. They need to put their best foot forward, and I know they're going to, right? And it's a matter of just seeing where it all plays out. I mean, I think you guys know me and seen our group. I don't care where they're drafted. They don't wear a U18 third round pick. Do you know what I mean? On the back of their jersey, they're just going to have a number. And if they prove to the staff that they're a top 22 or a 23 man at the camp, they're going to be putting on a jersey. What does it matter? Ask Chaos Jordan.
Now I'm going to ask you a question. I don't know how much you can divulge into this player that you selected a few years ago, but he just had himself a world championship, and Isaac Howard ranked number 9 on Central Scouting. Is there any chance at all that he decommits from Minnesota Duluth?
We'll keep our fingers crossed. Keep our fingers crossed. Listen, the one great thing about this is that if he decides to play major junior, he's got to come to Owen Sound. I know when we drafted him, we sent him his jersey. He had photos with it. He was excited to get selected. He would be a huge pickup for us. You're talking a top 3 forward inserted in your lineup that didn't cost you anything. And would he be a fantastic pickup or signing? Yes. Will I be attempting to do so? 100%. We'll see how the draft plays out. We'll see where he goes. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I know the people that run the team that he gets drafted to, and maybe they'll help us out, but who knows?
You mentioned it, Sasha Pastujov. Look at what he did for the Guelph Storm this year. It was that free pick. It didn't cost you anything extra, and he's a big addition to your lineup, especially if you guys have championship aspirations here. If not this next season, then the year afterwards. Yeah,
he'd be a great addition, and it'll be the road I go down for sure. and we'll have to just see how it all plays out. But fingers crossed, like I said, you know, it's been difficult. We've had a tough time bringing those guys in, but you never know. You never know.
Final few minutes, only about 8 minutes left on the show. We still got a few more for you. You mentioned Andrew Shaw in the, I believe in the first half, if not a little bit earlier in the show. Daniel Catanacci comes to mind. I don't know if you're seeing where I'm going with this or not. You've made a few off-season trades in recent years. Should we maybe expect a move this off-season before camp comes around at the end of August?
Well, yeah, I mean, guys, it's one of those things that's, I mean, I've got, you know, I go to watch the playoff games now. I mean, I know our season is over for as far as the Attack go, but I have to get out and watch some games, watch some kids to see, you know, what might come out, what might come of maybe a trade in the summertime. Maybe it's a trade after training camp. See if there's a fit somewhere that might benefit the Attack. That's the only way you can move forward. I can't tell you it's going to happen, but I mean, I've got to continue down that road like it could happen.
Yeah. Now in December, the World Juniors were canceled and they were moved to August. You saw Servac Petrovsky go off in December to represent his country. Do you assume that Servac will once again represent his country? And do you think it's good for his development that he'll already be in North America, in Canada, and then just come right back to Owen Sound?
Yeah, I mean, I think Servac's going to represent his country for the next 3 years, counting this year. He's an incredible player, incredible young man. I know he loved his time in Owen Sound. I know that he's already mentioned about next year us winning the conference. So that's his mindset, you see. So yeah, he comes. We haven't finalized everything because I don't know exactly the details, but yeah, for him to come over and play in Edmonton, there's almost no sense for him to go back home and then fly back 4 or 5 days later. So I think as we get through it, I'll probably call some of the kids and have them go visit some of our kids and spend some time with them and their families. Just it would be nice for him to stay here and go and visit some families. So yeah, I'm hoping that he'll stay.
Dale, fans here in Owen Sound, I mentioned it there briefly, expecting potentially a lengthy playoff run beginning as early as next season. The forwards, the defensive core had great opportunities this year. You mentioned a lot of those rookies got opportunities they won in other markets. You bring in an OA goalie in Nick Chenard. If you can sum up and maybe share your thoughts, are you anticipating something special next season?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I'll bring this up. I mean, it's, you know, I think anybody that watched us, you know, season ticket holders, if they watched us play at the end of the season, you know, I would be banging the door down. I'd be getting in my car, going to sign up my season ticket, you know, order and get that done, because it's going to be a special year. And, you know, how special it's going to be, I don't know, but this group is special. I mean, look at the 16 and 17-year-olds, what they've been able to do. I think at the start of the year, guys, we talked about where is the goal scoring going to come from? I don't know next year if there's going to be enough pucks for us to have on the ice, quite honestly. So no, if I'm a season ticket holder, I'm in my car tomorrow. I'm going down there, sign up for my season tickets as soon as I can.
Now, after season's over, you like to think about the season, what that was, the memories on and off the ice. Is there one or two memories that stick out to you, maybe funny moments that happened throughout the year?
Boy, you know what? If you are you guys going to have the coaches on
Next week?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's you've got to ask the coaches that, because I'm not on the bench. But guys, they've told me there's been some hysterical moments, like how naive some of these players are about situations. I'll give you two that I know about. One was a situation we talked about earlier on that I was incredibly proud of. I think we were down 3-1 or 3-0 or whatever the score was in Kitchener. There was something that happened underneath the stands between coaches, and our one assistant coach was telling our players, what was going on, and the kids were all jacked up. They were so fired up. We scored 2 goals within like 5 minutes, and then we went on to win the game. And we talked about the boys, the kids, and the coach. That was a telltale for me of what they thought of the coach. Okay. And another one was when Teos Jordan, I can't believe we're bringing his name up again, but Teos scored his first goal. And after the period, he takes his gloves and his helmet off, sets them on the floor, on the corridor after the first or second, I can't remember when he scored his goal. And he's signing autographs before he goes in while the game's going on. And I just think to myself, if that had happened when I was playing, I know what the coach would have told me. He would have said, Digger, go get your stuff off, shower up, and you can sit with those people all the rest of the game, sign all the autographs you want. But that's sort of where the kids are at this year. It was a lot of fun. Like, it was a lot of fun.
I was doing the interview in between, and I saw that, and I honestly couldn't believe he was doing the mid-game either.
And he didn't even think twice. It was amazing. It was amazing.
I don't know if you've said it on the show, Dale, but that just proves you say you want to bring in the good hockey players, but you want to bring in better people on top of that. I think we saw it honestly with a lot of rookies, even on this show this year. You have a special group on and off the ice.
We do, and it's so fun to be around it. And I know I say this. I mean, I'm the only one that gets older with the group, because you still have 16 to 20-year-old kids the faces change, right? But 16 to 20 years old. I'm the only one that keeps getting older. But I'll tell you, when you hear these things and you see it and you just laugh, and it's like it's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, Dale, we mentioned it. The season is unfortunately over. The draft's order. Is it time for you to maybe get relaxing a little bit before we come back here in August?
Yes, it is a time to relax, but it's you know what? It never ends. And I'll say it on air. I'll say it on air for the people that are watching, that we are always looking for new billets. And I'm going to plug that, because it is something that we always want to try to do. And if anybody's interested in or has thought about billeting, to contact the front office and or go on the website, and there's a link there. But we're always looking for new billets. We've got some fantastic billets that have been around for a long, long time. And but we'd like to get a backlog, if we can, of people that are new and want to get involved. But my summer, it slows down. Will I golf? Yes. But yeah, it'll slow down. But it's always about next year. And even once next year starts, it'll be about the year after. And like you guys know, we've got a great group, and we've got to try to enhance that at every way we can. And we'll just see how it all plays out.
Dale, you mentioned the word fantastic. You were fantastic towards Adrien and I all season. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you here in August.
Anytime, guys. Yeah, it's been a great year. Keep
Dale
it up.
DeGray of the Owen Sound Attack. Stick around with us next week. We'll have the coaching staff here on Attack Wrap on Rogers TV.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line. Email us or connect with us on social media.
Get any bigger than this.
You just can't wait for the puck to drop.
Ready for the Stanley Cup playoffs on Sportsnet?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Here we go. The chase for hockey's great.